I'm heading to the western frontier of China, Sichuan province, home to tea, chilies, spice and peppercorns. I can't believe I'm finally here. I thought I'd do one of my favourites. I love these smaller markets. The best thing to do is just pop on one of these. They're like motorcycles after that. Just grab some of this Chinese cabbage and just fire up into feast for all the senses. Chengdu, the capital of Sichuan, the city of spice, tea and traffic jams. Sichuanese cooking is perhaps the spiciest, most complex and delicious you'll ever experience. And to get an idea of those flavours, you've got to start straight at the spice market. Problem is though, I'm stuck in a traffic jam. And the door's not open. I don't think you'll find another place like this in the world. The Chengdu spice market's absolutely dripping in spices, so many tastes and flavours and aromas. It's absolutely intoxicating. Other Chinese cooking styles use as many chilies, but what distinguishes the Sichuanese cuisine is this widespread use of the Sichuan pepper. It's a dark reddish-brown peppercorn from the prickly ash bush, and when you put it in your mouth, it creates this incredibly weird sort of numbing and tingling effect. And furthermore, it has a lovely, haunting, woody type of fragrance and aroma. And when it's mixed and combined with the heat of chilies, what happens is this simultaneous effect of numbing, tingling, spicy, sort of hot all at once. It's absolutely amazing. The Sichuanese are dead serious about their chilies. I mean, unlike Westerners where we have a side dish of vegetables or salads, the Sichuanese serve you side dishes of chilies. And I've often had these dried bell peppers. They come out on a plate and it's like this mountain of bell peppers covering a little bit of deep fried chicken. Or these sort of smaller chilies are often deep fried with a bit of oil, so the oil is this beautiful spicy flavour. And over here you've got the ground chilies. Now they're often combined with a little bit of hot oil to create a beautiful paste, and this is often used as the basis to many a Sichuanese dish. Another unique character of Sichuanese cuisine is the complexity of flavour. And the Sichuanese cooks attain this depth of flavour by using all of these wonderful spices surrounding me. I mean, there's pods, there's bark, there's roots, there's dried seeds, dried orange peel. What I love the most is this wonderful cassia bark, which is from the cinnamon family. It's incredibly strong, and I love the way they sell it here. It's just reams and reams and sheets of it. And it's often teamed with this amazing exotic spice called star anise, which of course has that lovely strong aniseed licorice flavour. And these two spices are placed in a big master stock with soy sauce and ginger and garlic. And that's what we poach the soy sauce chickens in, the red braised pork hocks and the beautiful slow braised beef brisket. Chengdu was once the starting point of the Silk Route, and this, I guess, is how the spice got into the food, through its spicy trading partners from the West. Well, as always, I'm completely inspired by the markets, and what I'm going to do is my version of one of the local dishes, Kung Po chicken, which was named after the 19th century governor, Kung Po. What I've got, first of all, is some beautiful fresh chicken thigh fillets. Now, I always use the thigh fillets because they're a lot more juicier than the breast fillets. I've just sliced them into sort of 1-inch pieces, and I'm just going to pour them into a bowl and marinate them with a little bit of corn flour and some Chinese cooking wine. And what the corn flour will do will give the chicken a beautiful sort of glaze and a lovely coat. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is grind up the Sichuan peppercorns. This is how I buy the Sichuan peppercorns, and what I've done is simply dry roasted them for a few minutes with a little bit of sea salt. What happens when you dry roast spices is you intensify the flavour even more. And because this dish is all about the Sichuan peppercorn, I wanted a really strong aroma coming out. Into the mortar and pestle, just a couple of tablespoons of dry roasted Sichuan pepper. just to release some more of that beautiful, haunting, woody aroma. Now, before I stir fry the chicken, I want to flavour the oil with the chilies. So, big splash of oil into the wok, and before it gets too hot, put some of the dried chilies straight in, and literally stand over them and watch them sort of darken and blacken, and remove them straight away so they don't burn. And what you end up with is this beautiful chili flavoured oil. You can see the chilies changing colour now. So I'll take them out because you'll see they'll just keep going darker and darker. They get incredibly hot in there. And now I'm going to put the chicken into that beautiful flavoured oil. You can see the lovely gloss the chicken's taken on because of the corn flour coating. Now to that, we're going to add some more flavour, some finely sliced ginger, and some sugar. So what we're doing here is adding to the flavour. We're building on the layers. We're getting that beautiful complexity of flavour which the Sichuanese are so renowned for. A big splash of Chinese cooking wine, some soy sauce to balance out the sweetness of the sugar and to also build on that wonderful flavour profile. Some black vinegar to give the dish a beautiful sour acidic note, and it also cuts through the richness of all of the other ingredients. Now to that we add some freshly roasted peanuts, texture, crunch, again building on that complexity, trying to get as many textures and flavours in the one dish. Return those dried chilies, the fried chilies, back in. Onto the platter. Now the final touch, of course, is a sprinkle of the beautiful Sichuan peppercorns, like that. And there you have it, my version of the local dish, Kung Po chicken. Chengdu means successful city, and with a history of over 4,000 years, it had plenty of time to experiment with food and flavours. So even though the province is landlocked, the flavours of its cuisine are unbounded. One of its unique flavourings can be found in Sichuan pickles, made with a special salt found only in the region. Well, this market is so inspirational. I've just hit one of my favourite stores, pickling and preserves. And what they've got here is sort of every type of vegetable that's been pickled. This is like a beautiful exotic type of root. It's got this sort of citrusy, fragrant, spicy flavour. And as you can see, there's finely sliced bits of carrot and celery through there. It's really beautiful, served as a side dish. Another cooking technique which is central to Sichuanese cooking is the art of smoking and braising. And here I am at this wonderful pig stall. We've got every part of the pig imaginable. We've got all of the offal, we've got the pork neck, we've got the pork ribs, and we've got these beautiful sausages made from the pork mince. And what they do is, for example, with this huge piece of pork neck which still has the fat on it and the skin, this is simply smoked, and that's why it has that lovely dark reddish brown colour. And just a few slices of this in a stir fry or a braise really give the dish a complexity and character. Many of Sichuan's signature dishes originated as street food. This gives a common man character to the cuisine. Despite this heartland origins, Sichuan cooking is a major food style in China, and one of its signature dishes is the hot pot. Well, the idea of the hot pot is really quite simple, and in this case we've got a beautiful brass pot which is placed on a high heat, and this is called the yin and yang hot pot. So that one side has got a beautiful mild flavoured sort of chicken stock, and on the other side we've got a very rich, complex, chilly, spicy hot stock on the left. And the idea is to have the stock absolutely boiling, and then off the belt we pick marinated pork, we've got prawns, we've got vegetables, bamboo, tofu, noodles, a whole variety of raw ingredients. And You simply just place the raw ingredient in whichever stock you prefer at any given moment. And because all of the ingredients are sliced up very finely and because the stock is absolutely boiling, the food cooks rather quickly. So you just retrieve the cooked piece and put it in the dipping sauces, whether it's the soy or the ginger and garlic sesame sauce. And basically you just eat. Each mouthful is a different experience. But Sichuan food hasn't always been spicy. Less than 200 years ago, there was practically no chili in its cuisine. To get a taste of pre-spiced Sichuan food, I visit Mr. Yu, chef and owner of a private restaurant. There's no menu here, you simply get what Chef Yu feels like cooking. Today, there is a banquet of vegetarian dishes. Fresh, complex flavoured and no spice. What a contrast in flavour and colour to Sichuan's other famous dish, mapo tofu. I'm going to do one of the local Sichuanese classics, mapo tofu. And what that is silken tofu braised with some chilli, some pork mince and those wonderful Sichuan peppercorns. Now the secret to a great mapo tofu is of course the beautiful chilli paste. Very simple, some fresh chillies into a mortar and pestle, some chilli flakes for extra heat and the wonderful Sichuan peppercorn. Straight in, give it a really good pound. So what you end up with is this beautiful paste. Now to that, I'm going to add some oil just to bring the paste together, like so. Okay. Heat some oil in a wok, some freshly sliced ginger, some freshly diced garlic, some beautiful fresh salty black beans, and the chilli paste. So just saute the aromatics and the chilli paste, and then to that I add the pork mince. And what we're doing is stir frying the pork mince with the beautiful hot and spicy chilli paste, the wonderful aromas of the ginger and the garlic to create the depth of this dish. Okay, to this I'm going to add a splash of Chinese cooking wine. Lovely roundness and mellowness of character. Starting to build upon the layers of the mapo tofu. I put in a little bit of brown sugar. Now I'm going to put in a splash of soy sauce. Again, a little bit of salt, some liquid to create a sauce through which I braise the tofu. Some water in. What the water is doing is giving the whole dish volume with the liquid so I can braise the tofu squares. Some Chinese black vinegar to add a beautiful sour acidic note. Because the pork mince is quite rich and fatty, we want the vinegar to really cut through that. So here we have a beautiful rich style pork sauce. Now for the tofu. Silken tofu, sliced up into little sort of 1 centimetre cubes. Because it's so delicate, you need to sort of handle it very carefully. So just slide it in. And then just very gently with my wok spoon, folding it through. Well, the tofu is piping hot, so it's ready. Very carefully into the serving plate. And to finish, another sprinkle of fresh red chillies on, just for extra spice and that beautiful colour. And of course, a generous sprinkle of the roasted Sichuan pepper and salt. And there you have it, my version of the local Sichuanese classic, mapo tofu. Chef Yu's restaurant is set in an old part of Chengdu. Like other cities in China, the old Chengdu hasn't been spared the wrecker's ball. Something intrinsic, though, has survived the dramatic physical change. The people. They still take life at leisure, usually engaged in one of their favourite sports, mahjong, or idling away the hours in the tea houses, or both. Chengdu lays claim to many firsts, the first to invent paper money and the first to discover tea, and probably the first with the tea house concept. Sichuan's tea houses have an added plus of live shows, shadow plays, fire-breathing magic acts and the unique Sichuan opera featuring the intriguing face-changing trick. An ancient art form that still thrills today in spite of the techno backbeat.
Bye-bye, adios, au revoir, hasta la vista, arigatou gozaimashita.
A couple of hours' flight from downtown Chengdu finds me at more than 3,000 metres above sea level in what I think is the most perfect place on earth. The Tibetans call it Gyaltang, the Chinese Chongdian, but all agree that this is really a Shangri-La. Situated in China's Yunnan province, Chongdian used to be a link in the ancient tea horse trade route. As the name suggests, tea, sugar, salt and other Chinese goods came by here on their way to India. The exchange was more than economic. This was a corridor of migration and cultural exchanges between China, India and all the other regions that lie in between. I can see this mix on the face of its people and the food. My friend and guide Uttara is herself a mix of many cultures.
We have these great potatoes. We have red-skinned and white-skinned potatoes.
Right.
They are to die for. Delicious.
Because the soil here is very good,
Yes,
you said.
exactly.
Yeah. Raised with a bit of pork.
Yes.
Good for the cooler months. Most of the locals here live a semi-nomadic life, and I just love the way they all live in absolute rhythm with the seasons. It's so organic and earthy here. The food here is nothing like what you'd expect in mainland China. Unusual rice cakes, yak butter and cheese. So tell me, how do they eat this?
They slice it and put some brown sugar on it and eat it just like that.
So that would mean the flavour would be sour, salty and sweet.
Yes, and they also cook it with butter and sugar, and that's very rich.
Fantastic.
It's delicious.
Uttara has arranged for me to visit a real Chongdian farm. The land here is self-sufficient, with yaks providing the necessary meat and dairy products for the household. Well, this is the locally brewed yak butter tea, and it's absolutely delicious, a Tibetan staple through wintertime. Fresh yak butter, churned with some boiling hot water, and then to that we add some black tea. That again is churned, put into a kettle, heated up on the stove, and what you have is this amazing, well, it looks exactly like Western tea, but it tastes very different. It's got a little bit of salt in it, so it's savoury, and it's got a buttery sort of oily flavour to it, and the Tibetans drink it morning, noon and night through the colder months. I just absolutely love cooking on the open fire. And what I've got are some beautiful mushrooms and this amazing setting. What more could I ask for? A little bit of garlic into some peanut oil, some ginger, and these are wonderful fresh shiitake mushrooms which have the most incredibly beautiful velvety, silky texture when they're cooked. And what they do is, when they're sitting in the wok, they drink up all of the flavours and the aromas that surround them. I love them. To this I'm going to add some fresh tomatoes, and that will just add a beautiful acidic sort of sour note to the mushroom. and some freshly chopped spring onions for a little bit of colour, a little bit of heat from the onion. If the wok gets too cold, I just put a few more sticks on the fire. I just love cooking like this. It's so rustic and so homey. Now to this I'm going to put in some brown sugar. As the cooking process continues, the mushrooms just slowly soften and take on all of those beautiful fragrance. A nice generous splash of Chinese cooking wine, and that will marry all of those different ingredients and beautiful flavours together. Splash of soy, which is salty, to balance out the sweetness of the sugar. So a little bit of vinegar to add a lovely sour note. A tiny little bit of sesame oil for extra flavour. And to top it off, some beautiful fresh green chilies and some fresh red chilies. Mix that all around. Well, that's a beautiful balance of sweet, sour and salty with a bit of spice at the end. Ready to serve. And there you have it. This will be my mushroom offering to the family lunch. Another vegetable that grows in abundance in the Yunnanese province is potatoes. And what I'm going to do is stir fry them and caramelise them to make a really beautiful, delicious dish. What I've got is some crushed garlic into a wok with peanut oil, some ginger, and I'm just going to put the potatoes in the piping hot oil so the skin becomes crispy. So I'm really shallow frying them just for a few moments. And they're taking on the beautiful aromas of ginger and garlic. To this, I'm going to add some brown sugar and add some Chinese cooking wine, some soy sauce to balance out the saltiness with the sweet. And because I've taken the skin off the potatoes, the flesh of the potatoes will drink up all of the soy and the garlic and the ginger quite readily. A little bit of vinegar and a touch of sesame oil to finish. A few fresh chilies on the top. And there you have it, my version of caramelised potatoes, which is particularly warming in the winter months. I can't think of a better way to end my trip to the Western provinces. Hot food, cold weather and warm friendships.